So seen throughout the bits of code that we've written so far, that we've used some functions like getHeader and havePosts, and also the template tags that we've used here. These functions are a part of WordPress's core, so they are included in WordPress and made available for us to use directly without, having to include a special file at the top or anything. During this course we'll use a lot of WordPress's functions, but WordPress also allows us to create our own functions. So for example, you can write some functions to use WordPress's hooks, and we'll talk about hooks later in the course. Or maybe you need to use functions if you have some bits of code that you will have to reuse in multiple templates. All custom functions that you write in your theme must be included inside of a file called functions.php. So let's go to our root folder and create a new file, and let's call it functions.php. And then we can write any function here, and it will be available in our templates without having to include this functions.php file. But before writing any custom function that will add some feature to your theme, you must think if you should put it in your theme or in a plugin. If this feature should work, regardless of what theme is currently active, then you should put it in a plugin, because once you switch the theme, it will be gone. So plugins in WordPress adds extra functionality to WordPress without having to belong to a specific theme. So in this course we will have some functionality that will require creating plugins. But for now let's just focus on theme functions. So let's now start creating some functions. So I'm gonna open a PHP tag, and let's go to index.php. And here we have the post information, the date and the author. And this is a fairly long piece of code, and it will probably be used in other templates, right? So when we create another template, it doesn't make sense to write this whole thing again. So let's move this piece of code into a function and then call the function here. So let's cut this and open a PHP tag, and let's call a function that we will create in a moment. And let's call it post meta. And now we can go to functions.php and create a function, post meta, and just paste the HTML for the meta information. But we can't just paste HTML inside of PHP. We must close the PHP first and paste, and then open the PHP again to close the curly braces for the function, right? And we still have a syntax error here. I think I forgot to add the function keyword. Sorry for that. Alright, so if you don't like to close and open PHP tags in order to put HTML, we can remove these PHP tags and then echo the HTML as a PHP string, right? So let's do that now. Let's echo the posted on as a string. And let's also echo the anchor tag as a string. So let's open single quotes, and then remove the echo and the PHP tag and close the single quotes, and then append the function. And then let's remove the closing PHP tag, and just wrap the rest of the HTML tag in single quotes, right? And then we'll have to do the same for the rest of the lines. I'll probably skip this in the video. I think you can do this on your own. So I'm done with echoing the PHP strings. Here it is if you want to copy anything. Let's make sure what we've done is still working. So I'm gonna go back to index.php, and let's remove this var dump. And let's go to the browser and refresh. And as you can see, everything is still in place. The posted on, the date, and the author name. We have a space missing before the by, so let's add it here. So it's looking good now. So let's go back to the index.html, and let's do the same thing for the read more link. Let's cut this from here, and let's open PHP tags, and let's call a function that we will create in a moment, and let's call it read more link. And now let's go to functions.php, and let's create this function. So function read more underscore link. And then let's paste the HTML, and then we will have to convert the HTML into strings like we did in the last function. I'll do it also and skip this in the video. So I'm done now. Here it is if you want to copy anything. Now let's go back to the browser and make sure everything is working fine. And looks like the title is echoing twice here. Okay, so the title attribute function already echoes the title. And we are already echoing the string here. So we need a function that returns the result and not echo it. And to do that, we can still use the title attributes, but pass it an array with a key of echo. And this key of echo will be false. Alright. And let's check, and our problem should be solved. Great, so let's go back now, and we need to do one more improvement. So as you may imagine, this function.php file, as we go further in the theme, can contain a lot of functions, right? So it's always a good idea to do some organization in functions.php. So we can create some files and then include these files in functions.php. So let's do that now in our theme. Let's create a new file called helpers, and we'll put inside of it functions like these two helper functions. Alright. So let's create this file inside a new folder, and let's call it lib, short for library. And then inside of this folder, let's create a new file and call it helpers.php. And then finally, let's paste open PHP first and then paste our functions inside of it. And then let's go back to functions.php and include this file using require once. So require once and then the path of the file, which will be lib and then helpers.php. And let's go back and make sure it's still working. And as you can see, everything is still working the same, but now we just have things more organized. So one last thing for this lecture. Any function that you create in your theme, it must be prefixed with a unique prefix. And this is not only a best practice, but also it's a requirement if you want to submit themes to WordPress or ThemeForest. And this prefix is usually your theme name. So let's prefix our functions here with our theme name, first theme. And let's also go back to index.php and modify the function calls. And let's just make sure everything is still working. And the reason we did this is to avoid having a conflict with another plugin or maybe a WordPress core function that has the same name. So you shouldn't have generic names to your functions to avoid any PHP errors. So I think that's it for functions for now. Let's move on to the next lecture.